Hi, thanks for watching, guys. One of those days, kind of grim, kind of miserable, if you can see the clouds up there, but it's not looking terribly nice on the weather front. But let's have a look at my path. I call it a crystal path for a reason. Have a look at this. Now, we're very lucky in this part of Wales to live in a place where there are just naturally loads of milky quartz crystals. There's some there, but I've just noticed one here. In 30 years, I've never spotted them all. I can't actually... Oh, there it is. There it is, yeah, see, they look kind of all muddy, but that is your actual real milky quartz. I'm going to leave it there and not disturb it, but look, here's a tiny bit. Where is it there? There we go. That's chipped off somewhere, and you can see it's just naturally part of the earth. Now, I do pick them up and take them in the house with me sometimes, but then I bring them out and put them back out here, because it's where they belong, really. It's a nice big one I saw down here. How cool is that, eh? I'll just give you a sense of the size of it. There's my hand. My not very clean hand. That's a pretty big crystal. Here's one that shows redness, and this is actually from the heat of it being formed however many billion years ago. Maybe not even on this planet, but those are the red heat marks of the actual heating process that made the crystals happen. And this one is so red, I actually thought it was something else until I took a closer look. Now that colouring is making me wonder, is this how ruby comes about? Because it's very close to ruby. I'm not going to make a whole video with the camera pointing at the ground. Just doesn't seem a very good way to do it to me. But let's just take a few more steps up here. And every few inches, there's one of those milky quartz crystals. I don't really know if you can see them on camera from this distance. Here's one, look. Very easy to overlook. There it is. All that discoloration is dirt, see? They're absolutely everywhere here. And all human life is here. As I'm walking around looking for crystals, I've just come across this. It's a broken bit of an old tile. It's a very old tile. There we go, it's a quarry tile, terracotta. They cost quite a lot of money. Not ones like that, you know, when they're brand new they cost quite a lot of money. And that's just one of the great things about this. Because as we're looking around and seeing all these things, we're actually seeing ancient crystals, maybe even formed before this world was. Certainly formed before this world was in the condition it's in now. Those ancient crystals dotted around with little bits of building rubble. That quarry tile might actually be one of mine, I have to confess. But I don't think it's real rubbish, because it is ceramic after all. That's my excuse anyway. Maybe I'll be rich, because there's a load of free wool here that the sheep have left on the barbed wire fence as they've been scrambling under it. Sheep do not care. Someone said that on one of my videos once, and it's very true. Sheep do not care. They don't think they don't care. And there's got to be enough there to make myself about a 6-inch piece of string quite good. So let's take a walk up through these really ancient woods. They have been changed a little bit in modern times, if you can call 1924 modern times. But they enlarged one of the houses down the bottom there. Actually no, it wasn't, it was 1921, sorry, my mistake, 1921, and they got the stones from here. You can't really see it now, but it was a quarry in those days, and it's actually the quarry that the original houses were built from, something like over 400 years ago. Don't know any more than that. Ooh, up through the clearing, and here we are. Have you ever seen so much green energy there is in this ancient wood at the top of this ancient quarry? Stretches off for miles and miles. There's a strange bit here. It's been kind of scalloped out from the ground around it. We'll walk down into that. Usually, whenever I come up here to make a video, there's 20 different people walking their dogs, but it's quiet today. How cool is that? Oh, I'm glad you could join me in here. This is a great place, look, all surrounded by earth and nature. You'd almost think you'd be invisible here, but it is a very, very popular spot for walking dogs, so I don't know how long we're safe for. Whenever I'm up here, it brings to mind not exactly ancient knowledge, which I know is a real thing and which is a real true thing, but it's not knowledge that I really understand. I'm kind of too modern for that. Or maybe I understand it a little bit, but you know what I mean. It's time shifted so much, I've got no idea. But I sit up here and I think that somehow in the old days, people would have quarried stones out of this. Look, excuse the filthy trousers. I only film in filthy trousers on principle. But yeah, they'd have come up here and they'd have quarried the stones out from the bit down there we were looking at. And they'll have taken some from here as well, probably all over this little area. And it must have been incredibly hard, you know. I've no doubt they would have enlisted the help of a horse and cart to be able to do it. But still, you know, having to lift all those stones up and put them on the cart by hand. And what it was like for the poor horse, I don't know, because going downhill, well, you wouldn't have needed a horse to pull it, but you would have definitely needed some way of keeping the brakes on, some way of restraining it. And I'm pretty sure that they used horses somehow, because they were the only creatures that had the bulk and the weight about them to be able to move all the stones they quarried. But it's also worth thinking about all the work that nature puts in. It's really Mother Nature, and you know, you never hear her complaining. She doesn't kind of walk in at the end of a busy day being Mother Nature and complain about it. Because she's, in a way, she's a concept. She's a real thing. She's the goddess, I've no doubt about that. But to our modern way of thinking, it's something we have to conceptualise, is it not, friends? I mean, I can't see any other way that we could have it in our lives and get that understanding without actually taking it in at the fairly superficial level of the way we live today. But we've only got to look around. There's a stand of 3 there that somehow managed to craft itself. Trees just do this. Something in their DNA makes them just do this. And I've said in previous videos, tree DNA is actually very similar to human DNA. It's closer to human DNA than ape DNA is. We have got a very close relationship with these trees. And all they really do, I think, that makes them so different from us is they take a very long time with their life cycle. Sooner or later, a tree will rot and, you know, it'll die, sadly, it'll rot, and it'll rot into the ground. In fact, it's not sadly at all that it's died, because to a tree, it's part of the life cycle. Because as soon as it falls to the ground, the top tips of the branches, the tree tops, will grow into the ground within a year, and then they'll set off a load more trees. There's a tree here that hasn't fallen quite as far as it wanted to. It's landed on these other ones, but slowly they'll caress it down to the ground a little bit at a time. And here's one that's finally given up. Always seems kind of sad to me. I remember this tree when it was standing and it was something of a friend, but you know, it's a human thing, I think, or at least an animal thing, a worldly thing certainly. To be so concerned about death. Trees have got it all wrapped up. They really have. There's nothing dead about this. There's things living in it. There's moss living on it. And right up at the far end, it's sticking its fingers down into the soil to start growing again as new trees. And if we could see this, if we could have slow motion that lasted kind of 200 or 300 years, we'd be able to see trees walking, because this is how they get around. But when we pan over here, something very different. Let's just walk up and have a look. Now this has been done by the electricity company, which I think is called SSE, and it's because they've got a pylon right there. I don't want to go too close under it and get cancer, but it really does, it sort of buzzes. If you're driving a car under it on a rainy day and the car gets stuck, you can hear it fizzing. Really, yeah, really quite strongly. So this all looks a bit sad to me, you know, but even so, even though they could have left the trees here to rot down naturally, they will be growing again very soon. I've seen this probably 5 times like this in the last 30 years that I've been here. Life isn't too far away from this one. It's only a matter of weeks since it was cut. Many trees here, actually, all in one. But this is what happens, you know, every time they cut one down, 2 come in its place, 2 little saplings, and with a bit of luck they both grow. And it's happened to this one so many times. It's absolutely massive number, too many to count there. But look, it's all one single trunk going down into the ground. Here we are, back in a much nicer bit where the trees are growing and living. We're actually just right on the edge, if I turn round, we're just right on the edge of whatever you want to call it. There's probably a video game named after that. You know, it's kind of devastation, basically. And we're back in the woods, and look, they just can't kill it. So here's all the mess from the chainsawing as they cut those trees down. It's absolutely fantastic as a mulch, this stuff. It's very strong. I would never put this direct on your garden, but it's just what the woodland floor needs. So there is actually life coming out of all the death instantly and immediately. And I can't help noticing the green shoots of recovery there. Look at that. And of course there's the odd one that someone's cut down and forgotten to take down with them, and it's just laying here and rotted. That can't possibly have been me. I think it was though. And it's full of insect life, and actually full of moulds and spores and things which are going to keep on giving life. I do wish people wouldn't just leave their old rubbish lying around. Here's a crate. So actually I could do with a crate like this, so I'm going to, gosh, it's been there a long old time as well. Oh dear. There we go. Twig brother, nature's friend. In a very real sense, that's what a politician would say. Way over there in the distance we can see the roads and the houses where civilization, as we call it, begins. In other words, the hard world of commerce. And here actually is another great thing about living in the country, a great blessing. You can see the weather coming in. I mean, I can look at that and I can see what kind of day it's going to be. The only reason people can't see that in towns is that there's a lot of buildings in the way. I'm sure if you went to a high building or went to the outskirts, you'd be able to see that. But so many of us don't, and so many of us lose touch. Such a shame. But there is always that question of how far can we realistically go with it in this life. One that I think about a lot actually is the way that the Native American Indians, and no doubt other cultures as well who are still in touch with the truth, don't wear footwear that would have hard leather soles that would stop you actually feeling the vibration of the earth. I totally agree with that actually. I'm not keen on wearing shoes, but well, let's just switch around and have a look. I'll just look down at the ground for a minute and just, you know, would you like to walk on that barefoot? I certainly wouldn't, so I'm wearing my wellies. Keep my feet nice and comfortable, I suppose. And undoubtedly, if I stopped wearing shoes, I guess after all the pain and the hospital visits, I'd get over it and I'd have tough enough feet to walk on this, because people always did in the past. But we do get used to the way things are, and we can't really blame ourselves for that. I started wearing shoes because it's what my parents thought was a good idea when I was a baby. And you know what, it is quite a good idea. I don't think I'd like to be shoeless, not really. So once again, I'll say thanks very much for watching, folks. If you've enjoyed it, do give me a thumbs up. If not, you know what to do. Do subscribe and tap the bell though, then you won't miss anything. Leave me a comment, we will share the journey. I do enjoy that, and let's keep in touch. Okay friends, have a great day. Goodbye.